哎，我对吧？
你过一会儿再来当主角。
好了，
帕丁还是守住了。
这两兵刀兵知道怎么防，真的没用。
就是强起地堡，他就是建筑学强起地堡。这个拓扑是不是只会爆刀兵吗？我操！
没有，他刚才2块那个刀兵还可以啊。
对啊，这个单控刀兵一波，他就想抓帕丁一个练那个野的技贪命，但帕丁明显是有所针对的，对他这个战术。
And taking a look inside the natural expansion of Parting, there are arguably five defensive buildings.
他准备再拼一枪吗？4个宝，他凭什么拼得进去
他没有回头路的呀，他有什么回头路
？Luminite that has been put into the building. It's also the 50 Luminite and the opportunity cost.
他没办法，他只能拼啊。这盘已经输了。
不，这种打法他妈的。我说白了，稍微体系完善一点，他就打不了。他完全现在是利用这个刀兵的数值夸张，然后在那里打，是不是嘛？就稍微战术完善一点，这个托普就打不了了。不过他星际也是上来还挺厉害的，后来就不行了。后来他妈天梯他还被我干，有时候。
哎，他现在就很简单嘛，就找到了一个相对来说是比较就是靠谱的一个战术，对吧？那现在这个平衡性什么都没调的情况下，那的确这个战术可以啊。放一个盾，这个盾很关键，又4根管子，
没用啊！4根管子你他妈拿头打进去，
你不觉得他卡位置卡的有点好吗？
对呀，他 Party 他妈的各种卡着位置，你来嘛，进来就是送，不是神族这个拓扑，这个就是这个 OGS 的拓扑。
Two Shroud Stones now and looking to surround the work as it's starting to look good once again for the Vanguard player. Could this be the
这个刀兵真的素质有点猛，
已经把他家都换没了。
不，你不觉得这个刀兵真的有点猛吗？你妈这种都强冲都冲成这样，
但是没有意义啊。这刀兵打这个胖子的，妈的，说白了，胖子这个小虫子爆出来随便干他。强弩之末了，家都没了，被强推了，马上家都没了，
那肯定不管了，家肯定不管了，
家都没了，直接强推了。
这刀兵之后肯定需要改的，
直接强退了。这 OB 都不知道在看什么，妈的家都没了，这个人。
简简单单一个2兵。
前战期应该要转人组了。
这个是数值的问题啊，这个没有办法。对于他来说，虽然他知道怎么来防，他没办法，他只能这样防守，对吧？然后空投过去，你妈的你就没了。
这游戏算EA 吗？不算。EA， 这个游戏现在还在早期的封闭测试。closed 什么 closed beta 好像是。
We're a little bit blind, Apparently, chat is saying that QE won.
封闭测试还在，不算 EA。
哎，他们也，我告诉你，真的他们就公司没钱。如果他妈公司但凡有点钱，
他就没有必要这个嘛，就没有必要拿出来嘛。就现在肯定还在封，就
哎，黄哥，刚才是 Parting 记了，Parting 记了
，Parting 凭什么记啊？
你自己看吧。
Or on the base of Parting, QN had a huge amount of units in there.
你自己看吧。
Focus fixated on it. Meanwhile, chat was probably jumping up and down. But
不是这弄错了吧 ？Parting 凭什么输啊
？Check that, and we have actually got confirmation somehow, some way. Parting managed to pull it off. Are we able to dive back into the replay? Are we able to just have another look?
这选的地图吧是。
To our observer now, just as to whether we can actually slow this down a little bit.
是吗？我们待会看去。
啊，你上面比分是2-1啊！我靠，帕丁凭什么积极啊？
那我也看没想过帕丁为什么会积极啊？把他们赶回来了，他妈不是选，就是他们草台了。
那是呀。
Yeah, let's take a look at this because indeed we might have just completely missed something in the chaos.
他凭什么积极啊？我靠，刚刚。
Let's just see what we have over here.
我们他妈还是有眼睛的呀！妈黑幕也没这种黑法的呀！妈这02年韩国队就黑不成这样了。
草台不行啊！
不是你再草台也没有这种黑法的呀。对不对嘛？那就算02年的韩国队，妈都不能这样黑啊！
All right, so we'll wait for it now. It should be coming up for you guys any second now. And
oh my lord,
all right,
we missed that.
There's the Doombringer. We miss. How did we miss all of these little pieces?
啊，这什么意思啊？
他们
看放 replay，
他们在看回放，对，放，因为刚才 OB 没点到，
这 OB 不知道在看什么，家都没了都没看到。
Wow, okay.
Oh my lord.
So
等一下。我冠麦来了，好像。
明示不是02年韩国队不用明示，就是黑逼队。那个郑梦准，他妈的为了搞这些东西，就脸都不要了。
An interesting detail there as well, boys. If you
哇，
look
打
at
那
the
么多
front,
小
the
虫子，
Raptors have blocked him
就
in.
明着黑。当
All
时
those lances he rallied across the map, he can't ever bring them back, even if he had a few.
感谢乃 GXD 不能与前女友复合的一个飞机感谢兄弟。然后后来是那个贝肯鲍尔忍不了了，就在4进2的时候，韩国对德国，贝肯鲍尔忍不了了，把裁判换掉了。就是他们也施压嘛，就各种施压。贝肯鲍尔在这个国际足坛还是很有影响力的，最后施压，最后把这个裁判换掉了，然后德国队才没输。他妈的要我告诉你，他妈的如果贝肯鲍尔不出手，那么韩国人他妈绝必有脸黑进决赛，决赛再把巴西黑了，然后一路夺冠，整个韩国你妈的开始庆祝，说他们是什么世界强国，好吧？绝必做得出来。
又开始了。
绝必做得出来，我告诉你，他们绝必做得出来。他们不可能止步于什么，止步于黑到一个什么4强，他妈一不做二不休，一黑到底。
感谢乃 GXD 不能与前女友复合的飞机，感谢兄弟。没那么黑，我跟你说，
没有你他妈你真不了解他们，他们绝必做得出来，而且做出来之后，他们不会觉得这件事情是件耻辱，而是一件非常光荣的事情。因为你看过像之前有些节目吗？就是那个韩国当时的一些国脚踢球的，然后放他们什么踢马尔蒂尼头的这些镜头，他们开心的一逼，他们觉得很光荣。这些国脚觉得妈的当时就是应该这么干，光荣的一匹，他们觉得，哎，真的不以为耻反以为荣，这就是搞笑，你知道吗？韩国足球一身黑，没有什么好说的。
那我觉得你妈 C 罗还是可以的呀，我靠，那么在韩国
C 罗也是啊，在韩国直接黑脸呀，不上场呀，就这个原因啊，一身黑。
妈的，你们韩国他妈足球都是帮傻逼。
那对呀。说的没错啊，我对韩国足球也是一身黑啊。垃圾球队。
Exactly as KP touched on, everything's locked inside there. I think if he could have his time again, one of the differences that he could make was pull all the bobs away from the incoming drop immediately and then evacuate the base. Right? Like that's the big attention or the big problem for him because all of those bobs get converted into high DPS fiends. The DPS of the fiend is ludicrous. It's actually higher than a brute, which there are 2 fiends that come from a single brute. So by converting all of those, he's just brought a huge amount of DPS upon himself.
But all right, looks like we have game number 4 coming up.
好了，等下一把了啊。
Ozzy, we talked about the
game
as a potential make or break for Kivian. We're heading into Secluded Grove here. UI says unknown, but this is Secluded Grove, folks. And now it is Kivian with
Parting.
apparently the blue color overlay guy needs to fix the overlay, and Parting is once again going to be playing.
还是他每个开局都是把这个建筑啊 ZF 这个建筑放到这个位置卡一个，
他就是为了防你那个
狗嘛，防你爆狗。你狗来他就卡一个斧头兵到里面。
And no excuses from here on.
没错的，这个打法没错的。
Game number 4, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 4, parting with the current advantage 2-1 in this series. Kiwian almost managing to take it out in that last game if it was only for you pesky kids that just managed to make it out. Jeez. All right, looks like we've got ourselves fast expands coming through, Lidicor.
好了，看看这把
I'm
啊，
actually wondering what adjustments we're going to have here from Kiwian once again.
都是裸双。
If you can fix the overlay for us.
他又要用那个妈的裸双，然后直接爆到
单兵刀兵吗？
It is Kiwian playing
对啊
as the blue color. Now it should be all good for you folks. Second base for Parting as usual, whereas for Kiwian, he's changing.
不过像 Top 这样的选手也没怎么做，因为什么兵种强势用什么兵种，这个是对的。
But it didn't really work out for him in these last 2 games, and now he's changing things up.
All right, well, we're once again going to take a look at this top side. So I think the big question for me is how does Kiwian look to play this? Because the foot.
我一直觉得他们这个游戏啊，它的转身，我不知道是什么，是速率问题还是什么，就那个狗啊这些东西转身就感觉8个方向转的太快了，转的有点。 你到时候你看那个狗转身嘛，转身的时候，我总感觉转的太快了，是数值问题。这农民什么转身看起来还是挺丝滑的，对不对？这农民什么转身看起来还是挺丝滑的，就那个狗转身就不是很丝滑。你看那个狗转身是不是？你就感觉是8个方向在转，快的一批。
It's a rough one right now because you feel like Parting is picking up momentum, he's picking up confidence.
是动画没动画过度是吧？你的意思是？
His landings are becoming more and more impactful.
不，你现在，王哥，你现在纠结这个东西是不是太早了？
是纠不纠结？我也没纠结，我就说嘛。
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. We can already start to see now.
好了，又是直接打这个，直接甩，利用距离爆斧头兵，先把这下面这3个小野清了。关键可以爆小虫子，75块钱，还获得一个加速护符。
Doesn't look like we've got the chop through on the south side either, so just probably going to be heading over towards that north speed camp.
但是有打野啊，这套开局其实我现在看下来挺稳的。 没有破绽，基本上。
Kiwian is taking a much more slow and methodical approach to this. It's actually reminiscent of game number 1, this double base opening. He's still very heavy on Lancers. Difference is that now he's going to allow Parting to land inside his base. We're getting close to that 4-minute timing where Parting starts to bring on the Doombringer, starts to bring on the Gauns and potentially even Brutes to land with.
又来了 ，Party 永远都是这种，
好快啊，好快！
但真的很快，他这个比其他的这些恶魔要快很多。
因为这个就是运输机是2本的部队，没有2本你是出不了运输机。
就它很流畅，
它
这一套非常流畅。4分钟就差不多到脸上要投了。
I think it's what is it? 7 out of 8 over there. So quite a bit of gaunts inside. There could be a couple of fiends in there as well, but we'll have to check in with him as the first drop comes through.
我感觉这逼又要刀兵砍进去了，开始。
Doesn't look like any lancers really nearby. Second sentry post in the main base as well. Plenty of lancers here, and it looks like he's going to start off with a little bit of bouncing, but not going to find too much of a way through. Slowly working down the health of that Doombringer Lidicor. It looks like he might be able to. No, not able to.
抢摸农民修起来。
Trying to find that bob, and
我操，好快！
修得很极限，修得很极限。
全部修起来没问题。
Yeah, but this is not good for Kiwian. Kinetic redirection
又是他妈的这个刀兵的打法，我真日了。
But he also had an oversaturated Luminite mine. He had more workers than what the Luminite mine can take. So there's a lot of like lost efficiency over here. Same thing here on his natural. 14 workers out of the 12 available, or the 12 spots that's available. And it looks like he's just going to head over with the Lancers.
他这就是为了牵制你，然后自己开3挂。
And to a certain extent, I'm starting to feel a deja vu to the previous, or not the previous game, but game number 1, where Parting is able to aggress the primary, but he isn't able to do much of a damage. And now the Lancers are walking into his base.
Yeah, here they go once again. It looks like we've got a
已经准备好了，知道你要来，我靠！
going to be happening. Keep in mind, this was the map for game number 1. Shroudstone's up behind. Beautiful little block that he's got here. Second Shroudstone's there as well. And into the main base now, as there are more Shroudstones beginning to come up. But keep in mind, he's got plenty of units that are going to be looking to accompany all of these Lancers inside the base. They look to try and get us around, fighting their way through.
这个刀兵，我他妈
这个刀兵真他妈硬，我操，真的硬！这个刀兵
好像没有什么东西，就是在这个恶魔的兵里面，什么东西打刀兵快，就地堡打的稍微快一点。
他就顶着，你知道吗？就顶着。
但刀兵打人族就自己打人族就不行，因为人族这个机枪随便干的，就这个枪兵随便干刀兵。
You know, I want to give credit to Parting right here.
毒爆打刀兵快，他妈毒爆很贵的好吧？
毒爆你妈都什么时候的部队了？我靠，你在想
而且很贵啊！哦，我发现了，这个 top 他们就是你只要一来我就直接修，所有农民开修，对吧？这样的话就损失会很小。学到了，
基本上你就打不死啊。
对，就学到了，不死就不爆小虫子嘛。
pushes out that shroud and it regens when it drops down. Have a look at how much health he's still got, how much green health he's actually still got on this Doombringer right here. He has taken plenty of shots off this bad boy, but still.
人家肯定有套路的，妈的鸡的打那么久，
也是天梯前4，有道理的呀。感觉防得很好啊，三线，屁事儿没有，Parting也骚不到什么东西了。
But it looks like Parting isn't going to sit idly. He is bringing in the flame on boys.
又来了，他又是这招，妈刺蛇狗毒爆一波是吧？你来嘛，你来他妈炸不死你！
这招有点猛的，我跟你说。
他妈你敢来我就敢炸。
And now down towards the third base of Kiwian. Parting looks plenty of gaunts on the back line. Looks like on the
来了呀 ，Parting 的绝中绝。
That Doombringer get himself a little bit of extra white health, top these guys off if they're missing it out. And now
我靠，这个小虫子打爆，他妈的这波小虫子打爆，关键地堡防不住啊，他这样炸。
肯定防不住啊，他
随便炸呀！你怎么防啊？他妈等于毒爆开路了。
包括你直接换家了，反正top回来也守不住
，top打不过呀，回来。
对啊，
他凭什么打得过？他就这几个兵，回来炸不死你这波农民。Parting 还有矿呢，
他不看到你刀兵，他就不变嘛。
回来最后包这波兵，包不动，我感觉可能要被炸死。
你来我就变了呀。
对啊，可能要被炸死。好，炸了来了，哎，散的可以，这波刀兵散的可以，但是没办法，你兵太少了。好了，开个盾，直接变，直接开炸。哎呦，
感觉打不下来。
但是 Parting 有矿吧？运输机来了，
接走，
把枪兵给你 A 了。Parting 还有几片矿？Parting 2片矿还有几个
？2矿打2矿，2矿打2矿。
我 top 还有1片矿啊，散的有点好了。继续压。回城直接传回去，应该是。
Parting刚才稍微急了一点，我觉得是没有必要说他上来你就直接。
他应该去追那波农民，我觉得。
对，那波农民应该直接把他追死。
那波农民其实很可观的呀，你全部感染了，直接炸掉，全是小虫子，这炸出来你妈的这个正面部队你怎么打呀？是不是嘛？
我觉得Parting
不赚，刚刚那
波，对，他只能继续再一波啊。
他刚刚如果把那波农民炸了就好了。 他没有抓这波农民，其实是有点问题的。现在人族，关键是他开基地很快，你妈的一个加速过去，直接基地1秒钟就好了。
对，农民也很快。
1秒钟好了，你等于你农民没杀，你就拆了个基地，等于。哎呦！空投毒爆了是吧？他妈的空投毒爆
！We talked about this before game number 1. Static defenses just no longer work when you have parting with the imps out there.
这盘我觉得这个毒爆能够创造奇迹，好吧？
看能不能有机会打的时候，妈的从背后包过来一下。他主要是背后包过来的时候，他是加速的那一下，还是很厉害，不是很好散。
Yeah, it is. Is this the first game we've seen him make more than just lances? I mean, I guess technically for a couple of games in there, he did also technically make catapults.
先把瞭望塔开了。
Well, he didn't make them. He just seized them. But yeah,
自己也3开了，看到部队过来。
对，没有毒爆的话，正面打不过的，正面。
打不了，这几个兵打不了。这几个兵枪兵加速了，开始追。爆2个小虫子过去看一眼。
骚扰一下。
看到对方满经济。
realistically, it means you're probably going to have to move into magmadons. You might have to look at doing these.
但你说你要打进去，我觉得打不进去啊！你怎么可能打进去？
我刚好像听到哦，他在下面炸的，我是刚听到声音的。打进去不好打吧？他有地堡什么的。
不可能，不可能！
啊，又抢！来了！藏在树里面，要等马西亚了。等吧。
牛逼！
这你妈放中了！他妈的草丛里面冲出一波毒爆！直接人给炸傻了！这你妈的！不是没反应，是他那个是加速冲过来的。
还有就是草丛看不到，
草丛看不到他这个草丛。
那我觉得这波打完之后大局已定了呀。
凶啊，帕丁这个，GG 了，GG 了，有东西啊！刚刚这下。把草丛钻了一波农民出来。
Pop 刚才唯一的赢法就是憋后期，他把其他的高级兵种憋出来，他只能这么打。
Technology, I guess, is probably the best way to say because you've got to research it and then it actually unlocks for your gaunts, increases their movement speed by a significant amount. Did receive a change up. I think it used to give it attack speed as well, but only just gives movement.
说明 Parting 还是有东西。
Normally, it can be difficult to find a place to actually.
当然有东西啊，那天地第一假的呢。
Their parting spots a perfect place to use. It sacrifices a little bit of health off the top.
天地第一也不是开玩笑的，好吧
？Speed by a mile, and he just converts that army and turns it all into fiends.
Yeah, I feel like this was the first game in this series where Parting was really allowed to play his
出泰凯斯和坦克来不及呀。他们打的节奏很紧，根本没有机会让你转这个东西。
我感觉好像就韩国人打韩国的时候，这个节奏还是比较紧的。你发现没有
？The evening is the masterful killer pigeon. How was that last game? A lot of flame on imps right there, as we expect from the big man.
Yep, Parting looking on fire figuratively and literally in that fourth game. An impressive performance, and you know, it's kind of crazy. I feel bad for Kiwian. The first game in the series where we saw an evolution, right? No longer was he just the Lancer Metapod. He tried to free himself. It seemed like that just enabled Parting to get into his late phase of the game. I think we've got to start off by dissecting that.
其实高手打还是挺好看的，我说实话。
So close that it threw us all under the bus on what.
刚才其实节奏非常的紧啊。
You know, there's some interesting details to break down in that one.
你要想 Parting 4分钟，4分钟就到家了，他这个飞艇，你怎么可能让你去转泰凯斯这种东西嘛
？Press stand ground on your villagers when a night raid comes in. What would happen if you had archers behind it?
You just die, right? That's what happened to
泰凯斯就不要想了。
So this is an interesting little highlight because I know we have a lot of people come from Age of Empires. In that game, hold position
引
bad
出刀
moves,
兵，
but
那
interestingly
前
enough,
期
similar to
前期
Starcraft,
上来人
Stormgate
这个
has
刀
a
兵的
thing
强
where
度
if you
是
hold
高
position
呀，
of your workers,
对不对嘛？
they don't get attacked
强
by
为什么
enemies.
不出呢？
So if there's enemies behind them,
对啊，
like you know, you've got
作为
say you've got
选
your
手，
lords
我
or
觉得
whatever,
强的东西
the
你就应
Lancers
该
are
多
going to try
用
to
啊，
attack at them. So
这有没
interesting
错的呀，这
strategy
件事
by
情。
there by parting to hold on against those early raids from the Lancers. But the craziness of that late game Drongo, right? We saw that game was very clearly an all-in from parting. Those Raxes on the ramps guaranteed he literally could do nothing but a one-base all-in play.
Yeah, and I think that's just the way that it goes sometimes. He's always got the option to try and salvage it out, but I think you definitely telegraph your hand when the opponent comes in and scouts out and sees the 2 Raxes at the front.
高
You
级
go,
兵对啊，他
okay,
3本兵还没
alright,
做出来呢，他怎
we'll
么
get
弄啊？
ready. Because yeah, it's just one of those things when you block off the ramp, there's really not much choice that you're left to after that.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I think we highlighted it there. Like the moment you start doing that as well, it was just a great read by parting to end the game. It means you can't actually get more than 2 Lancers to defend, and GG from there. But that game 4 especially, I think like what concerns me, boys, is we've now got a situation where parting finds himself on match point. Kiwian, 1 out of 3 games with this all-in early timing paid off. Now we have this issue where he has to accept that maybe the all-in early Lancer play isn't going to get in the dub, and that opens the door to this Imp play, Lidical. A play that we saw get nerfed, actually, I think in big part due to Kiwian on his own. It used to be that Imp's done double damage to buildings. I think that's why we saw him not use them to take out the command post, instead holding the worker line hostage. But even with those nerfs, is it me, or is Parting about to get this unit nerfed again by himself?
I mean, if he keeps playing like he does in this set, and if he takes this kind of momentum into the grand finals, I feel like we could see some changes as well to those imps once again, because he's really showcasing how quickly he can turn a force of economy into just a
我操，这你妈的，我只能说黄哥啊，
destruction.
虽然说等的时间有点久，但云南的这个烧烤真的好吃，我靠，爽的一逼。那个包浆豆腐，你都不知道，这种一口咬下去是吧？它是烤出来的，然后放了很多的这种，就放了点辣椒什么的嘛，对吧？一口下去，外焦里嫩，里面你妈的，就你咬进去之后，因为是包浆豆腐嘛，里面就，哎，就反正这味道我太爽了。
On this stream today, we're going to figure out the details about how exactly we're going to disperse those to you. But I have been informed from behind the scenes that we're prepping that. I noticed a lot of people were asking.
我没吃过啊，我没吃过，我不知道啥是包浆豆腐。
这个真的有点好吃，兄弟们。
They're aiming for an anticipating round, maybe Friday, February the 23rd. So keep an eye out for that as well. But boys, we can't disrupt this any longer. Kiwian's back up against the wall in this best of 7. Nothing but perfection will do to get into that grand final for a matchup with Vortex. Let's hop into Broken Crown to see if Parting is going to make it a 4-1 dub.
So unless we get additional games, we're not going to see
这些美食，哎呀，我跟你说，快要回杭州了，对吧？多吃一点。你妈的，下次都不知道什么时候来了。我至少年以内我应该不太会再来云南了。
In terms of style, we've seen him open in a very similar fashion in this map. Let's see Ozzy if he can extend this set and maybe give himself a chance for redemption.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 5 of your second semi-final in the EGC Stormgate Open. We're here on match point as Parting leads the way. 3-1 against Kiwian. He spawns in on the north side in the color red as the Infernals.
And on the other side, last hope of the human vanguard, Kiwian with the color blue. Also last hope for him to turn this series around and prevent Parting from going into the grand finals.
又是把后门敲开啊！现在地图一共就只有3张。
我只想说一句，你妈的，你不要，能不能不要再两兵刀兵了？不管是2矿还是单矿。
他可能就觉得这个战术他很靠谱啊，他用起来，他就这招呀，又2兵营下去了，他又2兵刀兵去了呀，堵口，把口一堵。
问题你这个打不了，打不过。
Meanwhile, Parting is
打
going
不
to
过
take
Parting 啊
no surprises that second base, but hold your horse. Look at this. Scout is coming through.
他永远都这招，你妈了个鸡的！
Little bit of attention towards that gaunt, but
这是他的绝中绝
he's
了，
having fun.
然后就赌帕丁双开，然后单矿两兵刀兵去砍。
We've seen this build once before. The last time we've seen it on this map, though, it was a spectacular ending for Parting that got us all confused with the landing.
Parting 还在放他爆狗。
Up until that point, it looked reasonable for Kivian, though. So
这个细节现在都是这么打的。我有 Parting， 其实这个建筑学最精髓的地方就在于，它在那个就是基地和那个矿的中间，往下或者往上一格，它会放个房子，这个非常精髓。
对。
这个房子待会儿不行可以卡你刀兵的位置，或者卡狗。
我有点肚子痛，我靠！
你去啊！
你推流，你推流。
OK，
你把流推了。妈的了，吃了下一口的腿，你妈的肚子好痛。1，这下一口的腿不能乱吃，我靠！
哼，他妈的有没有可能他妈别人想吃还吃不到呢？ 都是2兵营出斧头兵啊，有4个斧头兵就可以出去那个去搞事儿的，去打野。好了，刀兵应该看到了，他是直接要去打他左边的野啊，那这个哎被包啊。 要被包啊！这波，Parting 被阴了，我靠！刀兵还是速度要比这个斧头兵要快那么一点，至少死2个，有可能死3个。3个有点亏。在里面2根管子，1个房子下去。 我还要死第4个吗？卡位置，你看这就是他建筑学，小狗过来稍微防一下，这个叫小猪吧，小猪防一下，然后你后面的这个斧头兵就可以输出。斧头兵好像升，他是科技升完了啊，再继续卡位置，这波感觉要被 rush 死啊，地堡还没起来，直接砍地堡，地堡起不来了。 第2根也要被强行砍掉，完了，这个2兵是有点东西。前期被阴就 GG， 就直接 GG。2比3。这个强度的确，我摸着良心说，妈的比神族那个叉子兵强太多了。又硬，然后升级完了脚速之后速度又快。
I'm just thinking from the perspective of an infernal player. How do I go about dealing with that when I'm playing on the ladder, right? Like, am I just going to have to start taking my expansion and then just immediately putting down my my shroud stones straight away? Is that it? And do you have to leave them in that state of limbo? There's a strategy that you can use because when you think about it, right?
Parting 我觉得要调整一下战术，这个就你不能去那么远的地方去打野。 你就近点把野打了就好了。他妈关键那么远地方去，你根本就根本别人刀兵过来，你根本就没办法。刀兵本来就比你快。
It's tricky, right? I feel like the issue here for Parting was that he went out for creep camps. He actually went for the creep camp on the opposing player's side, so he got caught off guard. We haven't seen that Doombringer landing coming in from him early on. And I feel like otherwise he was in a good position. He was 2 bases against 1. He had a lot of static defenses. It's just that he lost most of those gaunts, which would have been immensely valuable.
这个就一本兵啊，有什么问题吗？我觉得他脚速啊，我说摸着良心说， 应该去调整到2本。那他妈的，你1本就有角数的话，那这个长度是有点太高了。我个人觉得应该调整成2本。好了，看双方的第6盘啊，比分已经到了3比2，巴丁还是领先。他妈感觉又是这个打法吗？也没啥好干扰的这个东西。哎，我卡了，我靠！稍等一下，兄弟。好了，又是2兵营，你妈了个鸡的！又是2兵营，我靠！然后把中间的树一砍，这你妈！
Lancers, let's go. Team Lancers and then Team Infernal on the other side. It's been a fun day so far, Lidacor. There has been a lot of Lancers that have come out.
这个比 Party 还是一样啊，在高台上修了个地堡，然后呢，找机会去把那个下面那个野先练掉。
I wish I had an answer to that, but I have a gut feeling that the answer is going to be no. Because if this build doesn't work by the time he would get Met decks or even Exos, I feel like he's going to be dead. If it works, we are looking at game number 7, and I have a feeling that if we go into game number 7, he's going to try to do the exact same thing once again.
Have a look at this. We've already got 2 gaunts beginning to move out.
但这波打的话，怎么说？家里面一定要造管子啊！家里面不造管子的话啊，已经造起来了。 家里面，而且2矿也要造管子，你2矿至少要有2根管子，1根管子还不够。他可以直接绕过来，主要。再造1根管子，家里面造了，家里面只有1根管子，完了。你妈了个鸡的，这个。 啊，终于有胖子了，这个胖子还可以，能顶得住刀兵的这个攻击啊。外面这根管子根本就没用，外面这根管子，他憋2个小时去看一眼，你到底有没有开2矿？没有开2矿就懂了呀，你又是2兵刀兵一波啊。去看一眼，没有2矿。 没有2矿，懂了。家里面管子插起来，2矿至少要插3根管子，至少3根啊！你妈2根都不够。这3个刀兵到正面的话，就要这个 top 就要上了。妈的，这个战术就是。 真的就简单无脑，几根，第4根都插下去了，我靠，有点果断，但第4根没好，正面依然还有些危险啊。好，大家外面把这根先管对啊，把这根管子先打了呀，又打刀兵又没什么输出的这个管子。好，他现在去把这个投石车打了，然后打投石车一波。 他还在等，但这个时候 ，Party 这边应该是要马术2本出那个叫编织者这个东西。如果你不出的话，你没有办法待会儿去面对这个投石车，这投石车太猛了，待会儿，他待会儿刀兵只要保护着投石车就好了，你根本就上不去。刀兵还在上，这个地图。 啊，好像没有2本呀，没有2本，没有2本你怎么守呢？ 啊，现在升了，必须要有那个就是那个什么，就那个就很大那个部队。投石车主要打这个地堡非常的快啊，投石车打地堡。Top 如果这边再拿个2、3个农民来修这个投石车，可能就更完美了。啊，各种吸引，不让你第一时间打到，好了，但是还是打到了，很快。4炮可能一个就没了，4炮。2本应该升完了，这个时候赶快点下那个编织者啊！没有编织者的话，你根本就上不去。还在用地堡拖时间，还在拖。他每次你看他这个投石车，因为是没有办法操作，他就用这个胖子去勾引你的投石车的这个子弹，然后让自己地堡稍微
啥情况啊？
让自己的地堡能够不要被第一时间打到。啥情况？就是小车
这个引内盘吧，这个。
对啊，2兵刀兵啊。哼。
你妈！就他妈2兵刀兵，各种2兵刀兵是吧？
对啊，因为这盘也是2兵刀兵啊，但这盘有个地图机制，所以说2兵刀兵就变得特别猛。他强行打，但打不了呀！我靠！
刀兵围着，
哎，
但是这边打，我有强秒上了个盾，但没用，我觉得帕丁守住了。
哎呀，农民过来修了，农民过来修了，
炸不到。他一直在躲，农民修也修不起来呀，直接秒了呀。
修不起来吗？修不起来吗？
没秒掉。
修不起来吗？
我操，这没秒动吗？就差一下。
不，你
打农民啊，帕丁。
你这个斧头兵根本就没输出啊。
但是斧头兵打上去弹一下把农民弹死了呀。
好，终于搞定了，
对不对嘛？他还是守住了呀，GG 了。
GG，4-2。
他把农民弹死了，爆小虫子呀。4-2，帕丁还是凶。走吧，主角。
走。我是觉得
这一把好吧，主角。
你不可能就永远就这一个战术打到底的，你妈的这种盘2兵营。他妈难道就是因为这个2兵营，所以让他成为了天梯的前4吗？我靠！等一下，兄弟们，我。